Picture this. You're in the CELPIP speaking test. Task 1 begins and you feel completely calm. You know what to say, how to start your response, and how to give advice in a way that sounds natural and fluent. When the task ends, you feel confident. You know you gave a strong response because you came in with a clear plan. That kind of confidence doesn't happen by accident. It comes from knowing what the task requires and using the right approach to deliver your advice. This is the approach candidates use inside our CELPIP packages. With clear steps and strategic preparation, they've turned confusion into confidence. In this video, you'll learn 10 powerful tips for CELPIP Speaking Task 1. By the end, you'll know what separates low-scoring candidates from high-scoring candidates and how you can start applying these techniques right away. Let's get started. Tip number 1 is to understand what task one is actually asking you to do. In CELPIP Speaking Task 1, you are given a scenario where someone needs your help. That person could be a friend, a family member, or a colleague. Your job is to give that person practical advice, to help them either make a decision or prepare for something. You speak directly to the person in the scenario, not to the examiner. This is an important distinction. Many candidates treat task 1 like a general discussion or a monologue. However, the task is a direct conversation where you are playing the role of a helpful, caring person. Address the person by their name if it is given, and speak as if you are truly trying to help them. When you approach the task this way, your tone becomes much more natural. This can make a real difference to your score in the task fulfillment criterion. Task fulfillment refers to how well you follow the instructions. This includes using an appropriate tone and making sure your response is relevant and complete. The second tip is to use your preparation time well. Before you start speaking, you have 30 seconds to prepare. This might not sound like much, but if you use it strategically, it can change the quality of your response significantly. During those 30 seconds, do 3 things. First, read the scenario carefully and make sure you understand the person's situation. Second, think of at least 3 pieces of advice you can give. Third, decide what order you'll present those suggestions in. You don't need to plan every single word. The goal is to have a clear mental structure before you open your mouth. When you start speaking with a plan in place, you can sound much more organized and confident. This directly supports your score in the content and coherence criterion, which refers to how well your ideas are organized and developed with supporting details. Another key tip is to use a template to structure your response. One of the biggest challenges in CELPIP Speaking Task 1 is knowing how to begin. Many candidates waste valuable speaking time trying to figure out what to say first. A template helps solve that problem. It gives you a ready-made structure to follow, so you can focus on your ideas instead of your words. A strong Task 1 template includes an opening that acknowledges the situation and 3 suggestions that each have supporting details. It also includes clear transition phrases between each suggestion and an encouraging closing sentence. When you use this kind of structure, it helps improve your performance across all 4 scoring criteria: content and coherence, vocabulary, listenability, and task fulfillment. Each of these criteria plays an important role in your final score. A clear template helps you address all 4 of them more consistently and with greater confidence. For example, don't start your response like this: "I have some advice for you." Instead, use a sentence starter like this: "I completely understand your situation, and I have a few suggestions that might really help." When you talk about your second piece of advice, don't simply say, "Also you should." Instead, you could say, "Another thing you could do is look into local community groups in your area, as this would help you settle in much faster." Here is another example. Don't end your response with "I hope this helps." Instead, you could close with, I'm confident these suggestions will help you feel more prepared and at ease. Each of these starters comes from our template for CELPIP Speaking Task 1. Using them can help your response sound much more natural and fluent. Now, here is an important point. Many CELPIP candidates think that knowing a few speaking tips is enough to achieve a strong result, but it is not enough. To do well in CELPIP speaking, you need to understand what the examiners are looking for. For example, you need to use advanced grammar and vocabulary correctly and understand what makes a high-scoring response. That's exactly what we teach in our CELPIP packages. Our students get step-by-step guidance on how to give strong responses, so they feel confident and ready on test day. They learn how the CELPIP examiners assess their performance and what they need to do to meet the scoring criteria. Our CELPIP packages include lessons for all tasks, sample answers, mock tests, templates, and much more. Click the link below to learn more. Tip number 4 is to always give at least 3 suggestions. This is one of the key requirements of Task 1. Giving only 1 or 2 pieces of advice is not enough to score high. The CELPIP examiners want to see that you can develop your response fully and provide a range of practical ideas. Each suggestion you give should also be supported by a reason or a specific detail. For example, it's not enough to say you should exercise more. Instead, you could say, if I were you, I would start going for walks in the morning. This would give you more energy throughout the day and help you feel less stressed at work. Notice how the second version explains why the advice is helpful. That added detail can help raise your score in the content and coherence criterion. The 5th tip is to open your response with a warm, direct acknowledgement of the person's situation. The first few seconds of your response create the tone for everything that follows. If you start in a clear, friendly way, the examiner can immediately hear that you understand what the task requires. A good opening does 2 things. It shows that you recognize the person's situation. It also sets up the advice you're about to give. For example, you might start with something like, I completely understand how you're feeling, and I'd love to help you think this through. This kind of opening sounds natural in spoken English. It signals a helpful, supportive tone right away. This approach can be very helpful for your task fulfillment score. We'll now look at tip number 6. Use transition phrases to signal each new suggestion. Many candidates make the mistake of just listing their advice, one after the other, without any signaling language. The result is a response that sounds choppy and difficult to follow. Transition phrases do 2 important things. They tell the listener that a new piece of advice is coming. They also make your response sound more organized and fluent. Sample phrases you can use include, if I were you, I would. Another thing you could do is, and one final thing I'd recommend is, varying your transition phrases instead of repeating the same ones makes your language sound much more natural. This can help you raise your score in the vocabulary criterion and the listenability criterion. The vocabulary criterion refers to the range and accuracy of the words and phrases you use. Listenability refers to how easy it is to listen to and understand your response. This includes your use of grammar, rhythm, and sentence variety. Tip number 7 is to give specific details and examples for each suggestion. One of the things that separates a high-scoring response from a low-scoring one is the level of detail. A high-scoring candidate doesn't just say what to do. They explain why it matters and give a concrete example to support it. Think about it this way. If a friend asked you for advice, you wouldn't just say, do this. You want to explain your thoughts and maybe share an example from your own experience. That's the kind of depth the CELPIP examiners are looking for. Here is an example of a weaker version. You should talk to your manager. Here is a stronger version. If I were you, I would schedule a meeting with your manager to discuss your concerns. I did something similar when I started a new job, and it helped me feel much more settled in my role. The second version is richer, more natural, and shows that you can develop your ideas fully. This can help raise your score in the content and coherence criterion. By the way, if you want this channel to keep going, write yes in the comments, click like and subscribe. We only make videos that you actually want to watch. Now, let's continue with 3 more essential tips for CELPIP Speaking Task 1. Let's continue with tip number 8. Use a range of advanced vocabulary throughout your response. The vocabulary criterion is one of the 4 scoring criteria in CELPIP speaking. It refers to the range and accuracy of the words and phrases you use. Using the same simple words again and again can bring your score down, even if your ideas are good. The good news is that you don't need to use rare or difficult words. You just need to use a variety of natural, more advanced options. Here is a simple example. The word good can be replaced with beneficial, worthwhile, or effective. Here is an example of a weak phrase. You should do this because it helps. A stronger alternative is, this approach would be particularly useful because it allows you to. Small changes like these show the examiner that you have a wide vocabulary range. Aim to avoid repeating the same words and phrases within your response, especially in your advice sections. Tip number 9 is to vary your sentence structures. The listenability criterion looks at how easy it is to understand your response. One important factor is the variety of your grammar and sentence structure. If every sentence follows the same pattern, your response can start to sound flat or repetitive. This makes it harder for the examiner to listen to. You can vary your structures in simple ways. Use conditional sentences like, if I were you, I would. You can also use direct recommendations like, I'd strongly suggest reaching out to, and noun phrases like, the benefit of this approach is that. You can also use relative clauses, gerund phrases, and complex sentences to show a higher level of grammar. When your sentences have variety, your response becomes more engaging and easier to follow from start to finish. The 10th and final tip is to maintain a warm, helpful tone from start to finish. The task fulfillment criterion includes tone as one of its key factors. In task 1, the appropriate tone is friendly, caring, and supportive because you're helping someone who is facing a challenge or needs guidance. If your tone sounds flat, cold, or overly formal, your response might not quite fit the situation. On the other hand, if you sound truly engaged and supportive, your response can feel more natural and complete. One easy way to keep your tone warm is to use the person's name during your response, not just at the beginning. You can refer to them by name at different points in your advice. For example, you could say, I really think this will work well for you, Sarah. Another option is, that's why I'd recommend this approach, James. Doing this helps your response feel like a real conversation rather than a prepared speech. That's it. These are 10 tips for CELPIP Speaking Task 1. If you want expert guidance for your CELPIP preparation, check out our CELPIP packages using the link below. Our packages include step-by-step guidance, sample answers, mock tests, templates, and other useful resources to help you feel confident on test day. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their CELPIP score too. See you in the next video!